Cities hold secrets. Beneath the surface, behind locked doors, lie forgotten places. Places that whisper of forgotten times, of lives lived and lost. Urban explorers, we chase these whispers. We are drawn to the darkness, to the unknown, but some places are best left undisturbed. This is the story of 3 such places. 3 true encounters that blur the line between curiosity and terror. Tales whispered among explorers, warnings against venturing too far into the shadows. These are stories of the chilling depths, of the nightmares hidden beneath our feet. The abandoned asylum stood on a windswept cliff. Below, waves crashed against the rocks, a symphony of the sea's fury. Inside, the air hung heavy, thick with the scent of decay and the weight of forgotten suffering. It was a place where the veil between worlds felt thin. 3 friends, Mark, Sarah, and Ben, entered the asylum, drawn by its grim history. They descended into the asylum's depths, each step echoing in the silence. Their flashlights danced across rusted medical equipment, peeling paint and crumbling walls. The air grew colder, damper. They found a flooded chamber, the source of the dampness. A single rusted wheelchair rested at the water's edge, a chilling tableau. Ben, ever the daredevil, waded into the murky water. He wanted to see what lay beneath. As he went deeper, a cold hand brushed his ankle. He gasped, spun around, but there was nothing there. Only the murky water, the rusted wheelchair, and the oppressive silence. In the heart of Detroit, an abandoned theater stood as a monument to a more glamorous time. Now, dust-covered velvet seats stared at the empty stage. Above, a single spotlight cast a ghostly glow on the decaying grandeur. This was the Grand Blackwood, a place whispered to be haunted by a heartbroken actress who took her final bow on its stage. 2 explorers, Emily and Jake, stepped into the theater. The silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of their own breathing and the distant creak of the building settling. They felt a presence, a cold spot that followed them as they explored the dressing rooms, the orchestra pit, the balcony. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. It seemed to come from the stage. They ran toward the sound, hearts pounding. But the stage was empty, the spotlight casting long, eerie shadows. The scream echoed in their minds, a chilling reminder that they were not alone. Beneath the bustling streets of Paris, a labyrinth of tunnels and catacombs housed the bones of millions. These ancient passageways, hidden from the world above, tell a story of history, death, and the passage of time. It was a city of the dead, a place where the living rarely ventured and where the past seemed to whisper through the walls. A silent testament to the vastness of time and the fragility of life. Each bone, each skull, a reminder of the countless lives that once were. The air was thick with the smell of dust and decay, a scent that seemed to cling to the very soul, a constant reminder of the countless souls who rested there. It was as if the very walls were alive with the memories of the dead. A lone explorer, Claire, ventured into the catacombs, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear, her headlamp cutting through the darkness, revealing the eerie beauty of the underground world. She was an experienced explorer, having navigated many treacherous terrains before. But something about this place unsettled her. The silence was oppressive, almost tangible, broken only by the sound of her own footsteps echoing through the tunnels, amplifying her sense of isolation. The air felt heavy, suffocating. As she went deeper, the tunnels narrowed, the walls closing in on her. The walls, made of human bones, seemed to press in on her, suffocating her. Each step forward felt like a step into the past, into the lives of those who had come before. The oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on her, making it hard to breathe. Panic welled up inside her, a primal fear that she couldn't shake. She felt a presence behind her, an unseen force that seemed to watch her every move. Felt its cold breath on her neck. She ran, her headlamp bouncing, casting distorted shadows on the walls. She didn't look back. She didn't dare. The fear drove her forward, her only thought to escape. She finally emerged into a wider passage, gasping for breath, her heart pounding. The relief was palpable, but the fear still lingered. But the feeling of being followed lingered, a shadow that clung to her every step. A cold dread that clung to her long after she had left the catacombs behind. The experience had changed her, leaving an indelible mark on her soul. Back in the asylum, Mark and Sarah felt a growing unease. Ben's disappearance was like a weight on their chests, the silence deafening in its wake. They called out for him, their voices echoing through the empty halls. But there was no answer, only the sound of the waves crashing against the cliffs below. They searched for hours, their hope dwindling with each passing moment. The asylum seemed to mock them, its shadows concealing more than they revealed. They found his flashlight, discarded by the flooded chamber. It cast a single feeble beam into the black water. Suddenly they heard a noise from the water, a splash, a gasp. They rushed to the edge, their hearts pounding, but the water was still, the surface unbroken. Only the rusted wheelchair remained, a silent sentinel in the darkness. Emily and Jake, shaken but not deterred, continued their exploration of the Grand Blackwood. They felt drawn to the stage, compelled by an unseen force. As they stood on the creaking wood, they noticed something strange. The spotlight, cold and lifeless moments ago, flickered with a faint warmth. They felt a shift in the atmosphere, a tingling sensation that ran down their spines. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. They heard whispers, faint and indistinct, like the rustling of silk dresses and the murmur of conversations long past. Then the single spotlight exploded in a shower of sparks, plunging them into darkness. A cold wind whipped around them, carrying with it the scent of roses and dust. Deep in the Parisian catacombs, Claire couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She tried to rationalize it, to convince herself it was just the trauma of the narrow passage. But the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each step. She started seeing things in the shadows, fleeting glimpses of movement just beyond the reach of her headlamp. Whispers followed her, soft and indistinct, seeming to come from the very walls themselves. She picked up her pace, her heart pounding against her ribs. She came to a fork in the tunnel, unsure of which way to go. As she hesitated, she felt something brush against her hand. She spun around, her headlamp illuminating a pair of glowing eyes, staring at her from the darkness. Back in the asylum, Mark noticed something shimmering in the murky water of the flooded chamber. It was a faint glow, barely perceptible in the darkness. He reached into the water, his fingers brushing against something cold and metallic. He pulled it out. It was a locket, tarnished with age but still clasped shut. He pried it open. Inside, a faded picture of a young woman stared back at him. Her eyes seemed to follow him, filled with a sadness that transcended time. He showed the locket to Sarah. They recognized the woman from an old photograph they had found earlier. A picture of the asylum staff from decades past. The woman in the photo, a nurse, had drowned in the chamber they now stood before. Emily and Jake, shrouded in darkness on the stage of the Grand Blackwood, stumbled over loose floorboards in their haste to escape. The scent of roses intensified, chokingly sweet and laced with something cold and metallic. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them like a phantom audience. They could feel the eyes of the unseen presence upon them, heavy and expectant. They ran blindly, their only guide the faint outline of the theater doors at the back of the room. As they fumbled with the rusted handles, they heard a voice close to their ears whisper, "Don't forget me." Then they burst out of the theater and into the night, the echo of the voice chasing them into the darkness. They didn't stop running until they were far away from the Grand Blackwood, far away from the unseen presence that haunted its stage. Claire, her heart pounding in her chest, stumbled back from the glowing eyes in the Parisian catacombs. She fumbled for her flashlight, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold it steady. When she finally managed to shine the light on the source of the eyes, she gasped. It was just a rat, its eyes reflecting the light from her headlamp. But the feeling of dread that had gripped her didn't dissipate. She knew, deep down, that she had not imagined the presence, the whispers, the feeling of being watched. She turned and fled back through the tunnels, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She didn't look back, but she could feel the eyes following her, watching her every move. She emerged from the catacombs hours later, shaken and exhausted. She never returned to the catacombs, forever haunted by the memory of the glowing eyes and the unseen presence that lurked in the darkness. These are just a few of the countless stories whispered among urban explorers, tales of the chilling depths, of the nightmares hidden beneath our feet. They serve as a reminder that the allure of the unknown can be dangerous, that some places are best left undisturbed. But even in the face of fear, the human spirit remains drawn to the mysteries that lie hidden in the shadows. We are driven by a thirst for knowledge, a need to understand the world around us. even its darkest corners. And so we continue to explore, to uncover the secrets that lie buried beneath the surface, forever caught between the thrill of discovery and the chilling grip of the unknown.